Again. Hey guys, let's pray. Let's pray. Father, I just give you thanks for this day, Lord. I rejoice in this day. You made this day, God. And we recognize you as creator. We recognize you, Lord, as the giver of every breath that we take, Lord. And Lord, thank you for this conference and everybody that put it on. I pray for blessing. I pray for protection, Lord. Lord, I just ask you to surround them, God, just with aegis of your protection, God, as they leave this place, because I know how the attacks come. I know what happens when we go back to the real world, Lord. So I just ask God, bless everybody, and not only in this room, but in this place, God. And I just ask God to be with our time here today. In your name we pray, amen. Okay, guys. So I had to throw together 3 presentations or more in a short amount of time, okay? And that short amount of time was like 2 hours, okay? But we did it. But because I've spoken so many places this year, I'm recycling a lot of stuff. And this is one of the ones that I'm recycling, okay? I talked in Lima at Pastor Mike Spalding's church a couple months ago, and he asked me to come there and talk about this. So some of the things are relevant geographically to Lima, Ohio, but it's relevant to us because we're in Ohio. Now, I know not everybody in here is from Ohio, okay, but that's your fault, okay? I live in Ohio. I'm talking about Ohio. You go to your own home, you go to your own state and talk about that or figure it out. It's everywhere, right? Okay? So anyway, let my people go. There's a couple of things I want to talk about in relation to this, okay? Christians are the ones. We are the ones that want to see the slave set free. Our God is the one who freed, okay, the Israelites from Pharaoh, okay? And he warned them, you know, and sent Moses, let my people go. We want the slavery to end, okay? I mention that because one of the things they use against Christians, like, well, God got it wrong. The Bible gets it wrong on slavery, you know, and they use the verses, you know, in the New Testament about slavery. Whatever, dude. I don't care about that. We know Christians are the ones who are seeking out opportunities to free people from human trafficking. Okay? The day that I did this presentation the first time actually was my local, not mine, but in my town of Mansfield, Ohio, was the I'm sorry, I keep getting I'm supposed to hey, what's up? I'm not used to that. My local chapter of atheists, the Mid-Ohio Atheists, it was there today to clean up their mile on the highway, right? So, and I made a point of bringing that up, okay? The atheists in my town, man, they're active. They get toilet paper for the women's shelter, they get food, and they clean up the highway. That's all they can do. That's all they got to offer, okay? Yeah, go ahead, give them some toilet paper and clean up the highway, all right? You got to do something. You got to do anything else, all right? Don't have any power or ability to do anything else. All right? So the Christians are the ones, okay, that are going after the orphans and the widows and the slaves, and we're trying to put a stop to this stuff. So it's relevant. It's relevant for us when we're talking about we need more people doing it. We need more people supporting the people that are doing it. There's a lot of groups out there that are not Christian, okay? We need safe houses. There's some problems I think we have to solve. We have to figure out a way to do these things, okay? We need a place for these people who have been trafficked to go into, to protect them, to help them to readjust and to get out of this slave, you know, mentality, this lifestyle. So this is going to be weird because I'm used to having a corporate. Let's see what happens. Human trafficking, world's fastest growing crime. U.S. Department of Defense, okay, is the resource for that. Most common form is sex trafficking. We're going to talk mostly about that today. Okay, $99 billion each year, and these are, you know, showing the resources there from where these came from. Wow. You know, we think about how this country was founded. We think about the Atlantic slave trade. We can even go back further than that, and just, you know, the roots of the Atlantic slave trade started in Africa. Okay, you know, and the Africans were selling to Africans, and then it goes back further than that. We can go all the way back to Egypt and before that, and just this insanity, okay? And God stands against churches that have a day a year or a month a year. It's Human Trafficking Sunday. They talk about it and they forget about it. Okay. I think we got to do something more about it. Okay. Why don't we? Why don't we do more about it? This is something I came across when I was putting this together. I'm a fan of theologian, historian Francis Schaeffer. He talks about personal peace and affluence. Okay. And basically, my summarization is personal peace is leave me alone, don't bother me. Don't bother me, I won't bother you. And affluence is give me lots of toys, give me as much stuff as I can get my hands on. Okay, so these are worldly values, but this has infiltrated the church. Okay, and I've been guilty of this, and I could be guilty of it next week. So I'm not here to point the finger at anybody, but maybe, and you know, those of us that show up at conferences like this, obviously we come here to find family. We come here to find, you know, just fellowship because we don't click, you know, with the rest of, you know, the Christian, what do we want to say? The Christians at large, all right? So I'm not going to give up on them. We got to reach them, but we want to get the remnant. Who are the people? Where are the, you know, we used to be one of them. Let's get them. Let's find them. Okay, personal peace and affluence. I mean, I think we can all say that we've been guilty of this. Okay, the church is not immune to these values. Religion that our Father accepts as pure and faultless is this: to look after orphans and widows in their distress and to keep oneself from being polluted by the world. This verse is so significant and for what we're talking about today, okay? Because we're talking about protecting orphans and widows, okay? Human trafficking specifically today, and then keep oneself being polluted by the world, okay? The porn industry, okay, goes hand in hand with human trafficking. There's a lot of people, okay, and you're going to see, especially, you know, I'll just call them leftists or people on the left. I don't care bringing up politics. It doesn't matter to me. There's a lot of people on the right also, okay? So it doesn't matter. But for, you know, in large, we would say liberals, right? They're like, I don't want human trafficking. Oh, we want to, you know, we want this open border situation or whatever. And I don't care what you think about that. But but yeah, hey, sex work is real work. That's what came across my Facebook feed the other day. I follow a lot of groups that I'm completely disgusted with because I want to see what they're up to. But there was actually a post from a feminist group in Columbus the other day. Sex work is real work, okay? And these are the same people, the feminists, that are trying to protect. They say they're trying to protect women and they're trying to kill babies and all this insanity, but sex work is real work. So much hypocrisy on their side, okay? So James 1:27. You may choose, okay, this is William Wilberforce, you may choose to look the other way, but you can never say again that you did not know, okay? And this is the guy that was instrumental, okay, in exposing, you know, slavery and shutting it down, okay? What happened then was a nightmare, and we're still dealing with the consequences of the Atlantic slave trade and what happened in this country and the repercussions and the hurt and the woundedness, okay? So it was a big deal, but what's happening globally now is bigger than that. And we have a generation of people that are being abused. And it's labor, and I'm going to show you here in a second. It's forced labor, it's organ harvesting, and it's sex trade. So here we are. This is just kind of a map to show you where the hot spots are for human trafficking. Okay, so I don't know if you can see Ohio there. I can zoom in, and that's what it looks like. Yeah. So, in Ohio, we're surrounded by highways. These highways are pipelines for human trafficking, and we find this out. Okay, I live in Mansfield, and a lot of people be like, "That doesn't happen in Mansfield." It does happen. So I'll tell a quick story. I was at work it's been about 3 years ago now, and there was a lady that came into work, and it was a temp. And I didn't know what it was, but I was like, something's up with this girl. And there's something there, and I thought it was demonization. I really, really did. And I just began praying. I'm like, Lord, okay, I'm ready. I don't care. It was on my heart so much that this girl needs delivered or something. And I thought there was going to be a big scene right there in work. And so then she couldn't get along with anybody. They kept moving her around different places. They moved her over by me. And she came in, she had an attitude. She was just like, 50 feet high. And I had been praying, and within 3 minutes, I got to talk to her and found out that she just came out of a human trafficking situation. The pressure on her was so strong. She was just, she was so emotional. I told her what I did. That's what she did. She's like, what do you do? What do you do? And I told her what I did. I told her who we worked for, and she just completely just disclosed everything to me in just a few minutes about how she was in Mansfield, Ohio. She was being held captive in the room. And right before they rescued her, she was getting ready. They're going to ship her to Chicago, but they rescued her just in time. And she told me about it. I went home and read the papers. The trial was in the paper at the time. So, and she wasn't demonized, but she was highly oppressed. And I got to minister to her. And she was like, I want to go to your church. I'm like, you don't want to go to my church because the church I was going to. Three main types of human trafficking: forced labor. This is a real thing, okay? And I don't want to generalize here, but let's look at it. When I first started studying and researching human trafficking, it was over 5 years ago. And I kind of organized a local group, and we would meet in my town and talk about this. And we had people that were interested in talking about it. One lady came in, and she worked for the health department. And she was in charge of making sure that all the restaurants in town were, up to code and doing what they're supposed to be doing. And she began talking about the Asian restaurants or the Chinese restaurants, and that she really suspected that there was human trafficking going on there. Okay, so and we know, and you can do a quick search and you can find Chinese restaurants connected to this situation. But she was explaining how these guys they just didn't have a clue about refrigeration or how to prepare food or how to do it clean. Well, my family likes to eat at Chinese restaurants sometimes. I'm like, no. Okay. Labor trafficking victims hidden in plain sight in Ohio restaurant. Dayton, Ohio. On a typical day, Kendra Ross said she would work as many as 17 unpaid hours in a Dayton restaurant while under the control of what she later claimed federal court was a cult. Okay, according to Dayton Davis. This story came out within the last year or two. Okay, so it's real. Okay, I'm not going to go down that road. We can explore that road. It's the thing we need to worry about. It's part of it. There are human slaves working in restaurants in our state and in your state. Okay, you need to be aware of it. Organ harvesting, it's a real thing. Okay, let's not look too long at it. It's true. Okay, that's enough. This is kind of what we're going to focus on today because this is the biggest part of human trafficking. Sexual work and exploitation. So many things I want to say about this because there's so many things that are out in the open when it comes to human trafficking. Pornography is human trafficking. Okay, the strip clubs is human trafficking. Okay, the people that run these places have control over these women and these people. Okay, so it's in plain sight. We see it. Okay, and not to mention the cults and the things like this. And I don't have time to talk about the sexual abuse among the Amish that we are investigating in Pennsylvania right now. It's all over, but it's a serious epidemic, and the numbers I think will blow people away because we keep going in. It's like how many people get 50% of the women in the Amish? No, higher. They keep going higher, more. Okay, it's just like a common thing. And nothing has ever done because they never call law enforcement, on somebody in that community, okay, that abuses a woman or a young girl. So let's look at here. Human trafficking. 88% of Ohio's cases are due to sex slavery. All right. I just checked this. This right here. I just checked this about 30 minutes ago. Okay. I quit counting at 50. Okay. 50 kids in the last 11 days. Okay. This was from I forget the guy's name. I have the website on here, but this is a government website. Okay. So I think it's the Attorney General's website right here. So hopefully many of them are back home. Okay. Most of them are going to get labeled what's called endangered runaways. and 75% of kids that are in danger runaways, they end up, okay, in this situation. Ohio sex trafficking top venues, industries, and you may not be able to see this stuff down here. Green is hotel based, okay? So one of the things that we want to do, and I mentioned earlier, we have some things we need to figure out, okay? We got some problems. Okay, what can we do, okay? One of the ideas is to reach out to the people, to the workers at the hotel and train them on how to spot this stuff, okay? So we have some ideas on how to do that, but we need facilities, we need resources, we need people to help. This is something, this is something that we want to be able to do. As I'm thinking about it, has anybody seen the film Nefarious? If you're taking notes, write down that movie. It's Nefarious, and I don't know, it's probably available online, but that is one of the best human trafficking films I ever saw. Okay, it's a documentary. So, and it's probably about 5 years old. Really good. So, the orange one here is a residential brothel. Commercial front brothels is the green up there. That would be like your massage parlor. We had a bus in my town a few weeks ago of a residential brothel, Asian massage parlor. Okay, so this is going on. It's happening. You see these places. Okay, people are not getting massages in these places, and they run them for a while, then they get busted, and they send people in. What else? Online ad, and the other, I think the 17% is street based. Okay, so I want to kind of go over this again. I base this on Ohio because that's where I live. You can do a search for whatever you're looking for. This was in Cincinnati, Ohio. We're going to try and take a look at some of these, some of these cases and things that are happening here. This is April 10th, 2019, so this is very recent. Okay. Cincinnati, Ohio, a local man has been sentenced to 8 years in prison for sex trafficking of minors. This sentence is connected to a larger case involving 2 brothels who have since been arrested and accused of forcing a teen into prostitution and narcotics use. Stephen Ritter, 54 of Sharonville, was sentenced to U.S. District Court Wednesday to 96 months in prison, according to the court documents. In April 2017, Ritter coordinated with 2 brothers to arrange for sexual acts with a 16-year-old female. Ritter paid $200 to William P. Washington, 38 of Cincinnati, to Washington to deliver narcotics. And the minor victim to his hotel room. Hey, it sounds like, if we go back to the last slide, it was a dial-up service. Okay, it was an underage kid. It was prostitution. This is a story that happened in Ohio. I have when I worked at the eyeglass place, a friend of mine was actually on the grand jury. And he told me stuff he wasn't supposed to tell me. But he would come back and say, "You're not going to believe this. 3 pastors out of Toledo just got indicted for human trafficking. 3 pastors out of Toledo got indicted for human trafficking." And he's like, "Don't say anything yet. Haven't hit the news. When I hit the news, we started talking about it. But this, here's a picture of this guy being arrested. And this was January 29th. This happened maybe last year, but this story is from January 29th because the trial is still ongoing. So just giving some examples here. Okay, people that are involved in pedophilia. Okay, and we're going to take a look at some of this stuff. We're asking the government to do something about this. These are the guys that are raping children. Okay. Yes, exactly. No, and we're talking about that, and we're going to mention, what's going on with Jeffrey Epstein, and exactly, they're doing it. We know they are. Okay, so here, Cardinal George Pell of Australia, we were having a conversation about the problem in the Catholic Church. There's a problem. Have you ever seen the movie The Keepers? It's actually a little series on Netflix. I think it's a very good documentary. It's decades old of what happened in Baltimore. So But I'll tell you real quick what happened. You can go watch it yourself. I recommend it because it exposes what happened just in one part of the Catholic Church, and you've got to get this going on all over the place. Okay, so these young Catholic girls were getting abused in their home. Okay, and they were going to confession. They didn't know what happened, and they were confessing this to their priest. And then the priest looked at that as an open door, and they began abusing these girls and said, "You have to do this with me to get your sense of the true story." Crazy, crazy. Terry, I wish I would have grabbed the video that you sent me from that church militant about what was going on with all the Catholic priests and how they move them around from place to place to place. Okay, that's okay. So we could pick on Catholics, we could pick on Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons. It's going on there. It's going on in the evangelical church. Okay, the difference is we're not a cult. We're not trying to cover it up. We're not trying to save face. We're turning these people in for the most part, hopefully, right? So, but these cults want to save face. They don't want it to come back on them and look bad. So they're covering up the abuse. This was one of the Pope's good right-hand men, George Pell in Australia. Pope said he's innocent. He's innocent. He's not innocent. Okay? 6 years in prison. Are you kidding me? 6 years in prison. Wow. That's a slap on the wrist. So I don't get why the people, I do get, but why are the people that are supposed to protect children the ones abusing children? Okay? Yeah, it is. It is. And it's just, I don't know, something's twisted, because sometimes we find out stories about, like PETA, the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. We find out stories that they're actually abusing and killing animals. Like, they're supposed to be protecting animals. This is crazy to me, but here's that. Children's rights activist Peter Newell jailed for abuse, okay? So, this happened back in the 1950s. But just giving examples, okay, of people that are involved in this. So I honestly have no clue what's coming next. All this stuff. Okay. 11 mayors. This is an older story. Let's take a look at these, okay? This is from 2017, but at least 11 mayors accused of child sex-related crimes since 2016. Ed Murray of Seattle, okay? Not prostitution, bad enough, okay, but abuse of children, sex with children, okay? So, every one of these guys I'm going to show you. Okay, New York Mayor Rick Nelson, okay? Another one. Dale Kenyon, former mayor of Clayton. I don't have all the, for some reason I don't have the states put in some of these here. Okay, Wayne Shoup, 61-year-old mayor of Randolph, Nebraska. Involved in abusing a child, okay? The politicians, okay? This is nothing new. Anthony Silva, mayor of Stockton. I don't know if that's California or not. So some of this significant information. Kenneth Lewis Barrett, the mayor of Winston. Christopher Wright, he was a Georgia mayor, okay? Again, brought up on charges of pedophilia, okay? Texas Mayor Darrell Dean Walker. 11 mayors. These are the ones that we know about, okay? How many do we not know about? This is why the church has got to do something, because we can't count on the government. Because they're the ones doing it. New York Mayor Donald H. Briggs. This is the Ohio Mayor, okay? Let me read this to you real quick. This is Richard Keenan. Former Ohio Mayor Richard Keenan was handed a life sentence in April 2017 after he pled guilty to repeatedly raping a 4-year-old girl. Keenan, who was first indicted in August 2016, will be eligible for parole after serving 10 years. He claimed during the trial that the 4-year-old was a willing participant. I can't even believe I don't even want to talk about this. I honestly don't, but we have to. We cannot put our heads in the sand and we'll get our butt kicked. Okay, that's what's happening. We got to protect our kids. Okay, and I'm not even really talking about the LGBTQ agenda. It's no wonder that there's a green light from the politicians to let this insanity go through and into the schools. Because look what they're doing. If you're taking notes, here's another film for you to check out, The Kinsey Syndrome. Okay? This film is about Alfred Kinsey. Anybody know who he is? Yeah. He wrote, he's like the father of the sexual revolution, okay? In the first issue of Playboy magazine, Hugh Hefner said, if it wasn't for Alfred Kinsey, we wouldn't have this madness, okay? So he did the studies, he did the research. In his research, he abused children. Somebody on his team abused children, okay, to see their sexual responses, right? But the Kinsey syndrome explains how, when this report came out and they revealed that, that kids could get sexual pleasure, that this went into the courts all across the country, and they became lenient on pedophiles, okay, because of it. The Kinsey syndrome, I cannot remember who directed it right now, but anyway, I recommend it for anybody. Christian director, the guy that made that film. So, Jerry Sandusky. Here's another guy, should be protecting kids. It was a big trial, it was a big thing up in over in Pennsylvania. One more of the stories. So much insanity surrounding the story, and people, emotional, Penn State, and all that stuff. Crazy stuff. So I was in North Carolina a couple months ago. This was happening this place where I was at a conference in North Carolina. Former North Carolina Superior Court judge charged with sex crimes against a child. And let me look. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to say that Cazaba County, but there was another Biltmore House. Yeah, I forgot. Biltmore House. Anybody, if you're a conspiracy researcher, look up the Biltmore House. Anybody heard of the Biltmore House? Okay, yeah. So connected to that, yeah. And I think there's a news anchor connected to that. I don't want to go into. Where's the other place here I wanted to? I think it says in this article more specifically, right where we were in North Carolina. The judge told. Oh well, we'll skip it. Mega church leader arrested for sex trafficking and rape. Again, this just happened June 7th, 2019. This information just came out. Okay, this is ongoing. All right. You can't trust the government, and it seems you can't trust the preachers. Now, I don't want to paint a broad brush. Obviously, we know that there are men of God sold out to protecting kids. Okay, but we also know the devil weasels his way into places and extreme behavior. This is insanity. And so we go back to James where it says, keep oneself from being polluted by the world. I keep walking out of the street, I'm sorry. So, and we could go on and on and on and find more and more, and I'm just showing you, just scratching the surface of the politicians and the church leaders and the judges and the celebrities, okay, that are doing these things. This is a sign that I took a picture of this when I was in Scotland last fall. Giant posters, okay, about probably tall as that door and wider, okay, in the Dunn shopping center. These were plastered all over the place. What the heck is happening to the kids in Scotland? Okay, so this is global. We don't know where these kids are going. There's no place to go. It's an island. Okay, England and Scotland. Where are they taking the kids? They're missing. They're going into human trafficking. Somebody here is desperate to find these kids. Okay, so yeah, it's happening all over. What is going on? Why are people just trying to destroy our kids? Yeah, I know. It just still doesn't make sense.
They get some kind of energy from adrenaline.
They do. Well, no, that's a good point. So, and we'll talk about that here for a second. As Christians, we sing the song, there's power in the blood, wonder working power in the blood, okay? The shed blood, the sacrifice of Jesus was, okay, the atonement for our sin, okay? The dark side believes the same thing, there's power in the blood. and they shed blood, they torture, and they drink blood, and they do these rituals, okay, to gain power. And they will torture a victim and raise the adrenaline in their system and drink that and get a high off of it. Okay, and we don't have time to talk about adrenochrome and all that stuff. Write that down, research it later. Okay, who else we got? We're taking a sidestep and talking about the UK and Scotland for a second. This is John Wedger, police whistleblower. I want to just tell this story real briefly. He was a UK, a London Bobby, who was like, give me something to do. And they're like, oh, go down there and see if you can find some pedophiles. We think there's a couple down there. So he did. About 50 of them. And they're like, oh, shoot. Okay, that's too many. And that's what happened. He got good at catching pedophiles. And word from high up came down, said, you got to shut this guy down. He's getting too close to our operation. So they railroaded this guy. I mean, this guy, his testimony is out there in the UK. Again, if you want to go back, there's too much to cover. And if you want to go back and look at Don Wedger's story, his videos are out there. And, I mean, at one point, he lost everything and he was living in a car because he wanted to be a whistleblower. He wanted to say, hey, this is going on, and there's a cover up here, okay? I mentioned that. I mean, the same thing's going on in the U.S., okay? And we see this, and we saw it recently, right? So, what we got next? I have no clue. Is Child Protective Services trafficking children? Yes, yeah. Okay. Yeah, exactly. I don't even know where to start. Right. I don't even know where to start. They're making the laws and they're taking our children and they can. I mean, it's insanity. They get money for kids. Nancy Schaefer, and I don't know if I have a slide for her or not. Nancy Schaefer exposed this about 10 years ago, and she decided to kill herself after she did it for some reason. Well, actually, her husband decided to kill herself and him. Okay, it was a murder-suicide. But I remember hearing an interview with her on the radio, and then hearing about a month later that this happened. And she was exposing this. People were coming to her. She was a state rep. I don't know what her rank was, but she was a politician in Georgia. And people were coming to her saying, this is going on. CPS is taking my kids. This is happening. This is happening. So let's take a look and see what else.
They're probably on low-end single moms.
Yeah. Yes.
Taking their kids.
They do. They do. And you know what happens? One of the things that happens, this is a little bit of a sidestep, okay? So, but in an abusive situation, say there's a husband abusing a child, okay? And then there's a divorce proceeding, okay? What happens a lot of times is the judge will award the child to the non-combative parent, okay? So the mother is frantically trying to protect the kids, and she comes across as frantic and psychotic even in court because these things are happening. And the father's sitting there, okay? It could be reversed, but it usually goes down this way. And the father is just very calm, and just denying the charges. He seems like he's all right. So what happens so many times, and we've heard these stories so many times, the children get awarded to the abuser because of this situation, which is insane. So, okay, here's the ugly truth. Most Americans who are victims of sex trafficking come from our nation's own foster care system. It's a deeply broken system that leaves thousands of vulnerable dependents as children and grooms them for illegal sex trade as young adults. Same thing in other countries, by the way. Okay, the film Nefarious covers this, what goes on in Eastern Europe, and how the pimps are waiting outside of the foster care that they have over there. Okay, so can't recommend Nefarious enough. I forget where I was. And grooms them for the illegal sex trade as young adults. Most people don't know about our nation's foster care to sex trafficking pipeline. But the facts are sobering. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children found that of more than 18,500 endangered runaways reported to the NCMEC in 2016, 1 in 6 were likely victims of child sex trafficking. Of those, 86% were in the care of social services. The system can't be fixed. It needs to be tore down and started over. It cannot be fixed. I say that boldly. Okay? This is a quote from a former CPS worker. CPS is a system that profits off of converting children into cash while destroying their families and communities. Carlos Morales. I like this guy. He's not a Christian, but he's got a lot of good whistleblowing videos on CPS. He used to work for CPS, and he found out he was involved in taking kids from healthy families. He couldn't do it anymore. He realized how the system was working, and he had to get out, and he was exposing it. So, yeah, I know we've all heard stories. It's insane that there could be a sink full of dirty dishes and the kids get taken out, but there could be abuse going on in the home, and when we need the CPS to do their jobs, they're not doing their jobs. It's insane, and like we're saying, like you said, access. If you're a pedophile, where are you going to go? You're going to go where the kids are, okay? And I don't want to paint with a broad brush because I believe there are good people in that organization. But what happens is when good people get in there and they realize there's a bunch of bad people, they're like, I want to be here. So the good people leave. Or they can get corrupted, okay? So, it's hard. It's hard to be around darkness. You get in there and you're in there with people that are just predators. It takes a strong person to stand up in that situation, and then many of the people that do get kicked out.
They persecute us.
Yes, they do. They do. And again, I want to be careful to not use the broad brush because there's exceptions, but the system has got to be torn down and start. We got to start from the ground up. I don't know what it is. Okay, I believe the church has got to do something because we can't count on these guys. Okay. Riverside County, California finds out child pornography ring in foster care but does nothing about it. Okay, and there's not a date on this, but this is within the last year. Okay, so I think there's a story here. Here we go. Georgia State Senator Nancy Schaefer exposed CPS and family court tyranny, murdered 3/26/2010. So it was 9 years ago. I remember when that happened. And you can get on, I think it's called Kids for Cash. She actually wrote a paper on this that's real good. And I used to have some available to hand out of them. But anyway, Nancy Schaefer, if you wanna see what happened. And again, she was getting too close to the truth, I believe, and they had to take her out. Who are the targets of human trafficking? Victims can be men or women, adults or children, foreign nationals or U.S. citizens, okay? While they share the trait of vulnerability, victims have diverse ethnic and social economic backgrounds, varied levels of education, and may be documented or undocumented people. So there's a serious problem with people that are coming into the country illegally. They have no protection, and they're wide open to being trafficked, okay? Just like an endangered runaway, okay? The kid, if it's a legitimate runaway, if they haven't been kidnapped, they're looking for help. They're desperate, and they'll do things. They'll get tricked into things. Okay, they're a child. It's easy for an adult to trick a child. They're vulnerable. Okay, just like the people that are coming across the border and the trafficking that's happening there. All right, so it's an epidemic, no doubt. Okay, who are the targets of human trafficking? Children under the age of 18 and induced into commercial sex. Adults aged 18 or over induced into commercial sex through force, fraud, or coercion. Children and adults induced to perform labor or services through force, fraud, or coercion. This is the slide. How are the victims lured in? Victims of human trafficking are frequently lured in by false promise of a lucrative job, stability, education, or loving relationship. And this happens. We hear these stories all the time, especially overseas. There's a book called Not for Sale that I read. I don't know if anybody's heard of that, but they really just kind of zoom in on this and explain how this happens. They will tell somebody, hey, we got you a ticket to America, and you're going to have a good job over there, and you can send money back to your family. It's not the case. It's a lie, it's a trick, and they put them into sex trafficking. Okay, happens all the time, and we're going to talk about the demand here in a minute. Okay. Again, this is from God's word, and this is one of the things that compels me. Okay, Isaiah 58:10. And if you spend yourselves on behalf of the hungry and satisfy the needs of the oppressed, then your light will rise up in the darkness, and your night will become like the noonday. I I wish I had time to talk about Isaiah 58, the whole verse there, because it talks about true fasting. Okay, and God's talking about, you think I don't even like this. What are you doing? You're quarreling. You're fighting. You're fasting. You call this, a day pleasing to me. He's like, this is what I want. I want you to sacrifice your life. I want you to spend your life on behalf of those who are hurting. Then I'm going to make your night like a new day. That's a good trade. I like that. I want that. That'll be cool. Yeah, that's another thing. And I don't think I have, maybe I do have a slide in here about that. The biggest problem in Hollywood has been and always will be pedophilia. Corey Feldman exposed that. Everybody's like, hey, Corey, keep it down a little bit. You're saying some crazy stuff there. We don't want to know that. How many of the children, the actors, okay? I'll show, I think I have the slide on here. One just recently came out from Disney. Another one. So, here we go. You guys know him, Harvey Weinstein. Everybody knew this was going on. Everybody knew he was doing this stuff. Nobody did anything. Finally one person comes out, and then everybody else comes out. Thank God. Somebody had, the courage to expose this guy. And it's a scary thing. I get it. I'm brokenhearted for the victims. And they're embarrassed. They're ashamed of what happened to them. They think it's their fault. They've been made to think it was their fault. Yeah, Bill Cosby. And on and on and on and on. So, I was at a Pride Parade a couple weeks ago, and I saw marching down the road, and I talked about this on a show, a show that I did live from there that actually got censored and taken off of YouTube. But I saw walking down one of the people in the parade, and I recognized him because years and years ago, when I was dating my daughter's mom, 25 years ago, she took me to meet her friends, okay? And she took me to meet Chico and Chico's mom, Becky. Oh, well, I already said this. So, I don't know if it's a good sentence. But anyway, and then one of the stories that I learned that day was about Aurelio. And this was my girlfriend at the time, and my wife, and my next wife. But she told me, she said, yeah, Aurelio said he was being abused by his stepdad, but nobody believed it, and people were making fun of him, and this kid was raped by another man, and this was years ago. I heard this. And so then I see coming down the parade, Aurelio, who's running for some kind of a city office, and he's prancing around, he's out, he's gay. And I'm just like, wow, this is a celebration of abuse. And I realize not every single person who chooses their decision, this lifestyle has been abused. But it's in the high 90s, right? Of people that have been abused. Okay? NAMBLA. And I don't think that's on the slide. The North American Man-Boy Love Association. Anybody ever heard of that? NAMBLA. It's a real thing. And when I was making the David Arthur movie, I had some NAMBLA clips in there, but I did not have the stomach to put them in there. I cut them from the movie. I was so disgusted by NAMBLA, and it's kind of an old thing. They've kind of moved on to some other things now, but it's a real thing. Yeah, and there was an FBI agent who infiltrated NAMBLA, and I cannot remember his name, but he wrote a book with Oliver North. He infiltrated NAMBLA and brought him down, or he put a lot of them in jail. And he had to act like a pedophile to do this. And I heard him interviewed one time talking about this. He was so disgusted by his job and what he had to do. And he said one time they were having a meeting in New York, and he didn't know what was going on. They got off the plane, they met, they took a train down to some toy store downtown Manhattan. He's like, I don't know what's going on. And then all these pedophiles lined up and watched the kids in the toy store and talked about what they would do to their little boy. And then he talked about how the pedophiles groomed the mothers, the single mothers, to get close to the boys. And they would give the mothers gifts, and they would act like they liked the mothers and all this stuff, just so they could get close to the single boy. So, this FBI agent was able to infiltrate and catch these guys going to Mexico to abuse kids. That's not the FBI agent. That's Jimmy Savile. Another example of this is a UK, this is like the UK Dick Clark, okay? That's who he was. He's dead now. Okay, but everybody knew. Everybody knew. I've gotten emails from people that knew about this in the 70s. They exposed this. They gave this guy the keys to the hospital where the children were, and he would go in there and do satanic rituals. And people were telling about it, and nobody was believing him. But after he died, then the BBC reported on it. Another example, celebrities. Here we go. Here's your Pizzagate, okay? Yeah. So, here's another story. This is Damon Alphonsus. There was the Podesta emails that came out. Blah, 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 blah. Look into it. It's it's relevant. It's a big deal, okay? Nice guy, okay, right? Take a look at this picture. Okay, same guy. All right? There's so much symbology and so much complexity to this case, and there's misinformation and disinformation, but something really weird is going on here, okay? And it's connected to politicians. It's pretty crazy. Here's the example I was going to tell you. This actress here, Bella Thorne, detailed tragic experience with molestation while working for Disney. That's just another example. How many do we not know about? Okay, celebrities, politicians, preachers. I don't understand. And I'm even the Amish, okay? This is blowing my mind when I went a couple months ago with Russ Dizdar into Pennsylvania to learn about it. Like, why are people from all different cultures just racing as fast as they can to kill and abuse children? I agree. My grandpa, I was raised by my grandparents, and he would watch Walter Cronkite every night at whatever time he came on. And he would sit there and yell at the TV, "That's the devil. The devil's doing that." My grandpa, not everything's the devil. Well, the older I get, right? Remember this guy? Oh yeah, I forgot. He's dead now. Yeah. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. He's supposed to be dead. Probably not. I don't know, but I know he's out of the picture. So, yeah. What can we say? I mean, really, we already knew. I mean, how many of us thought beforehand this guy's gonna end up dead, one way or the other? And they didn't even try to make it believable. And there's nobody that believes it, but everybody's going along with it.
Well, the nice thing that I've seen is a lot of people I know that aren't political conspiracy theorists do look at the situation and agree with the conspiracy theories. People I know are like, yeah, we all knew. Like, if you know this, why aren't you buying everything else? Like you get this one.
Right. Agreed. Again, this is not updated. This is about 2 months old, but you can look at the dates on here. You can see the missing kids I'm about to show you. Every week, I have a tradition. What's that?
That was just last week. 8/19.
Yeah, that was last week.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I did. No, I'm sorry, I did. Remember when I said I had 2 hours? Okay, I put this up. I'm sorry. I thought this was the wrong one. Yeah, this is missing. And then here's the whole thing. Okay, so I think I have another one now. There's another one missing. 8/19. Okay, so these kids, endangered runaways, usually end up in human trafficking. Okay, how that happens, I don't know. In my family, 2 years ago, had a family member, and ended up in drug rehab in Toledo, Ohio. Who were missing. The family called on police. This is a cousin. I don't want to give too many details, but this was a cousin by marriage. The parents asked the police for help. Police couldn't get any information. They hired a private detective. And this happened in Toledo, but I remember going everywhere I went in Mansfield, her missing posters were all over the place. So they hired a private detective to try and find her. The guy went up there and just scrubbed the streets of Toledo and found her. Somebody had kidnapped her and pimped her out on the streets of Toledo. Toledo, they got her and brought her home. They found her. Miracle. I was requesting prayer all over the place for her. So she's a mess. I'll tell you what, she's a mess because what she's been through. She's still struggling with drug addiction. Like the traffic cameras, the cameras anywhere, the security cameras.
Because the government officials are involved in that.
Right. Most of those are they don't give a crap about kids. They just want to catch you running a red light or stealing something from Walmart. I agree. Yeah, and that's what's going on. And they don't, there was a documentary about Walmart a few years ago how they don't have any cameras like on the parking lot, or they're not protecting people in the parking lot getting attacked, but they're more worried about merchandise getting sold, which, whatever. I don't know who has access. Apparently there was a video camera on Jeffrey Epstein too, but that wasn't.
Yeah.
So your suburbs are not safe. Pedophiles are really good at what they do, and they use all kinds of trickery. They use all kinds of social apps to get access to kids. Okay, and there's no shortage of stories out there about how they do it and how they use video games and how they can do this and how they pose as people. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen in my family. Okay, and I've seen where my older son's 25, but when he was a teenager, he thought that he was talking to a pretty girl. It was not a pretty girl. I know that it was not. Okay, and I explained to him what was going on. I said, it's probably an old man. Okay, what's going on? He's trying to trick you into doing something. So,
Remember to catch predators?
yes.
That's one.
Right. So, yeah, that was a very fascinating show. I like that show, but they never addressed the issue, which was what happened to these people to make them this way. They would do this. I'm not defending those perpetrators because they were sick. Okay, but there was, they don't want to deal with the porn issue. They don't want to deal. I remember back in the 80s. James Dobson made a movie called A Winnable War on pornography. Anybody see that? That came to my town. And there was an issue. I remember when Two Live Crew was getting arrested in clubs for being obscene, and that was an issue. And they were on Donahue. And now that's not even an issue anymore. Okay, Two Live Crew would be like, "Whoa, I didn't know this was going to happen." Yeah, I'm not going to blame them, but you know what I'm saying? Where we're at right now. And especially what's happened in the last 5 years with the LGBT and all this stuff and obscenity. Are you kidding me? That's nothing compared to what we're dealing with now. So, what can we do? We can pray. Pray that God would provide volunteers. How much time do I have? Help me out here.
You're good.
Okay. These are just, I'm just going to scratch the surface. These are just, we can do a lot more. We can do some things, okay? But I want to mention these things. And I mentioned that last slide. Just because I know there's parents and grandparents in here, my daughter put me in check the other day. She said, "Hey, by the way, this app that her younger sister has, you need to check it out." Okay, she's, she knows what's going on more than I do, and she was like, "Make sure she doesn't have any guy friends on that app because it was actually Snapchat." And she told me why. I was like, "Okay, I didn't realize that was going on." Okay, but here we go. Pray that God would provide volunteers, resources, and funding for those who labor. I kicked it. So, excuse me, pray for victims to be rescued and that they would find hope in Jesus. Pray for rescued victims to find physical, emotional, and spiritual healing and courage to continue moving forward despite their wounds. Pray for law enforcement to track down criminals and bring them to justice. Pray for traffickers to turn from their sin. For those who exploit people by purchasing sex, service, and slave trade products to change their behavior. I believe if we would just give a moment of prayer, okay? I'm overwhelmed thinking about praying for the whole world, okay? But it's easier for me to pray for where I'm at, and we're all from different places. And if we could just, take a moment and lift this up to the Father and say, I know that you are capable, and if you need to use me, use me. What can I do to rescue these kids? Nobody else is going to do it. It's got to be the Christians. Be aware, trafficking happens in restaurants, hotels, nail salons, airports, and shopping malls. Look out for these signs. Victims don't have freedom to move and are closely watched. Excessive security in a workplace or home can signal captivity. Traffickers often brand their victims with tattoos of a barcode, a dollar sign, or a man's name. If you suspect someone is being trafficked, this is a resource. You can call the trafficking resource.
Are they legit?
There's a lot of ones that are legit out there. Okay, there's a lot of good Christian organizations out there.
That one. You know, the tough one. The last one.
I think they are. You know, I don't know. Obviously, people would like to say the CPS is legit. You know? So yeah, exactly. But there are good organizations out there like Polaris. You do a search for what's in your area. I know there's a lot in Columbus, Ohio, even headquarters of places that if you want to get involved in some place, if you want to get trained, they provide training, all kinds of things like that. So, but yes, I would vet out anything before I found out, and we may not know. So that's why I say we want Christians to do something. Churches, Christian groups, fellowships, somehow need to do something. Even if we can just help one person, that's amazing. Okay. So train and equip. I mentioned this earlier. We would love to be able to train and equip. And there's a lot of organizations that do this. Hotel workers on how to spot this and what to look for, and even putting. Sometimes what they'll do is they'll put phone numbers or contacts on bars and so in hotels, so when the people who are trafficked go in there, that they have a way out. And a friend of mine who helps us had an idea that I thought was kind of unique. Pink box project somewhere in Florida where she's having people donate these pink metal like mailboxes or safes, and she's going to get the word out where you can put a note in there anywhere you see this pink box. And I was like, okay, that's cool, that'll do some good, but I want to think bigger. But hey, I don't care. You do this, I'll do that. I'm not going to get on anybody's idea, So, but the idea is we're going to put these pink boxes out there everywhere. You can put a note in with information how we can rescue you. So, what if we began to pray for law enforcement, prayer map them? What if your local church or your local group called up the police office, the police station, and said, hey, I would like to have the names and the badge numbers of your officers so we can pray for them. I don't know. What would happen? That's a good idea. So, but I mentioned this. Working up here. I can see it. Can you turn this around? So, prayer map, law enforcement. Do that somewhere else? So, for anybody in the front row. So, prayer map, law enforcement. A lot of times people come to me, keep turning for these guys. Like this, like that, right there. Okay. You have binoculars. Real quick, prayer mapping. Okay, prayer mapping is a tool. Okay, people come up to me at the table somewhere where I'm at a conference all the time. I need help for my kid. I need help for that. One of the first things I mentioned to them is, you don't need them. You're in the front row. Pass them back. He's got binoculars. I tell them this is what I do because this is what I do for my kids. I prayer map them. Okay. I have a son named Elijah. I have a daughter named Evangeline. I have a son named Zach, and every one of them have different prayer needs. So for me, I do all this mentally. Okay, but it's helpful to write it down on a piece of paper. Okay. I have a son named Elijah, write his name at the top and be like, okay, what can I pray for Elijah? I know his specific needs. Then I ask the Holy Spirit, okay, what am I missing here? What can I pray for Elijah? Piece of paper, okay? But the idea is when we pray and we get, we get distracted, we think of other things, our mind wanders, that map is there to get us back on track and to remember so we can be thorough in our prayer and specific in our prayer. And I love prayer mapping. When I understood the concept, I applied it to everything in my life. Okay, and you can take this and make it your own. Okay, one of the things I did is I began praying for specific things on specific days. Okay, on Monday I would pray for the people that I work with. On Tuesday I would pray for my family and focus on my lost family. Okay, am I allowed to move this now? Okay. So on Wednesday I would pray for my pastor and people at my church and all in leadership. On Thursday, I would pray for government officials, from law enforcement to judges. Lord, get the corruption out, help those who are, just you get the idea. You can take that and make it your own, but it's a great tool to use to be thorough in your prayer life. Okay, so have a day. Do you have missionaries connected to your ministry? Make Saturday the day that you pray for missionaries. And the idea is you don't miss anything. If I had to pray for all these things in one day, it's overwhelming. And sometimes we won't even do it because I can't pray for all these people. But if we break it up, you know what I'm saying? And I used to pray for my kids, like Monday through Friday, the work week, one every day. And I pray for them all every day, but I would focus on one every day. So anyway, here's an idea for a prayer map for law enforcement, for salvation, for marriage and family. Okay, health and safety, integrity, expose corruption, catch the bad guys. Okay, hey, don't leave out the firemen. All right. So, and I'm thinking in context of human trafficking and the people involved in helping these guys out. Do the same thing for them, and you could put it on a 2-week cycle or whatever. But if you prayed, if the people in here begin praying for the firemen or the police once a month, wow, you're like, only once a month? Well, how much are you praying for them now? I said that to my church, the last one that I went to. I said, why don't you pray for the pastor, once a week? They're like, only once a week? How much are you praying for them now? They're like, oh, okay. CPS, we talked about this. What if we worked with other churches? That'd be great. We're unified in catching human trafficking. Just an idea. What if? What can we do? Okay, if we weren't divided. So, okay. I'm missing a slide here. Maybe I'm not. So I want to talk real quick about the demand. Okay. And this issue mostly applies to guys, but in 2019 it applies to women too, okay? Because things have changed, all right? So here we have, obviously, this man is chained up, okay? And we have a different situation than we did when I was growing up, okay? If I wanted to see something naked, I had to go look for it, okay? Now it comes after me, all right? So it's a different situation. And many people know my story. I put it out there. I was 3 years old the first time I saw pornography, and I said it's like giving cocaine to a kid. And it didn't do anything for me then, but it piqued my interest. I'm like, okay, I know this is wrong, so I want to see more. Addiction to facts: 43% of all internet users view pornography materials. 1 in 3 is female. 50% of religious men and 20% of religious women say they were addicted to pornography. 33% of men between the ages of 18 and 30 either think that they are addicted or aren't sure if they are addicted to pornography. This is a touchy subject, okay? This is a real touchy subject, and people squirm when I talk about it. I get that. I used to squirm, okay? No matter who you are, but we got to deal with it because if we're viewing pornography, then we're creating the demand for the sex trafficking. Man, it would be great if everybody quit doing it, and then we wouldn't have a need for it, okay? So let's talk about this a little bit. Let's look at some of this, okay? Effects of porn addiction: lowered relationship quality, increased risk of infidelity, financial issues or job loss, having difficulties in sexual encounters, negative impact on intimate relationships. Okay, it also creates a demand for the product. Okay, that's another one of the effects. So, how is porn addictive? Like a chemical. I recommend the book Wired for Intimacy. That was a big deal for me because it took me a long time to rewire my brain, okay? Because, again, 3 years old, that was introduced into my life. I had nobody to protect me, okay? Because of what I've been through and because of the struggle I had, I was there to protect my kids. I couldn't protect every single thing that they see. Now, this is a tricky thing, okay? Because as human beings, we're supposed to be attracted to the opposite sex, right? This is a good thing. Our God created sex. That's a good idea. Okay, I like it. All right, but there is, we have the enemy who's completely just perverted God's gift, right? And he's twisted it all out. I always use the example of a cell phone. Okay, you have a cell phone, I don't know where mine is, but this cell phone has a designer. Okay. And it has a specific use. If I use it for something different, I could break it, like hammering in a nail. Okay? Sex has a designer. Our human bodies have a designer. Okay? This is like a deal breaker for a lot of people, and you'll hear atheists talk about this. It's like, and you never hear an atheist says, "Well, God wants me to take a day of rest on Saturday, so I can't do that." But if the sex is a deal breaker, right? Well, why does God want to take a day of rest? Because He created us, and He knows we need it. It's not to ruin us. And the same thing with sex. Why does He have rules for sex? It's because He created us, and He wants us to get the most pleasure out of it as we possibly can. And He's like, "This is amazing. Just do it this way. It's going to be good. Trust me." Okay? And the enemy comes in, and he's really good at making, the perverted stuff look like, no. This is a lot better. No, it's not. It's not. But he's good at making it look like it's better. So, but with everything I just said, there's also a chemical reaction going on in your brain. And when people are looking at porn, and guys are looking at porn, and they're masturbating, there is your mind takes a picture, okay? And it burns it in to your brain, and you become addicted to what you're seeing when you're having the stimulation, okay? So, how to overcome? I got a call. I get a call all the time. Hey, this is what I'm dealing with. And I always say, this is my specialty. I love this. Do this, okay? So, let's go over a few things. Accountability is a good thing, okay? It's a good thing, and this is what's mostly out there because I researched it. What's out there, okay? Basically being accountable, having programs on your computer, all that stuff is good, and it has its place, but you're basically waiting for the person to quit looking so you can do what you're not supposed to do, okay? So I don't want to, downplay accountability. It's important, okay? We need to have it. We need to have it with our spouses or somebody that we can trust, okay? Willpower plays a big part in this. You have to physically reject what you want to do, okay? Whether, if you're trying to quit a habit like smoking cigarettes, or you're trying to, get on a diet or whatever, we need physical willpower to overcome this. This plays a part, okay? As Christians, the world, the flesh, and the devil, okay? The world around us, the temptation, okay? The flesh, okay, our bodies, okay? Thank you, Adam and Eve. Okay, we were born into sin, all right? Obviously, we would have done the same thing if it was us, right? But we're hardwired to do the wrong thing. We're hardwired to do the wrong thing. If you can overcome those two things, then you have an invisible enemy that while you're minding your own business, he can put things in your head, okay? And he doesn't care. I always say he'll try anything twice or three times. It doesn't matter, okay? And he'll tempt you with things that you don't even struggle with, okay? And he'll make you think you thought of it. That's how good he is at doing what he does. We have an enemy that can put a thought in our head and make us think we thought the thought. Okay? Resist the devil and he will flee from you. I've been kind of going over this. Everybody knows that, right? I tried this for years. It didn't work. I was forgetting something. Okay? Anybody, who knows what this verse is? Who knows what this verse is? What? James. James 4:7. I was forgetting something. Submit yourself then to God. Oh, okay. So that helps out a lot. You have to rewire your brain. And that's with anything, okay? I talked to some people here that had other issues other than pornography, okay? Sometimes it's alcohol, sometimes it's food, sometimes we have to rewire our brain, okay? Again, I want to recommend the book Wired for Intimacy. I heard an interview with this guy years ago. I was like, wow, this is what I'm looking for. Because everything that's wrong, everything that's perverted about pornography, we become glued to this perversion or to what we see on the screen. God meant that to get you close to your spouse. It's supposed to glue you to your spouse. That's what it's supposed to do. But when it's used wrong, you become glued to the wrong thing. Deliverance. Okay? Now, I have a guy actually called me 2 days ago, and I haven't been able to talk to him because I've been here. Okay? He believes he's possessed. All right? There can be demonic lust. There can be attachments. You open up doors in your life. Strongholds that you can't break. You need that deliverance. How do you do it? It's the next slide. Repent and renounce. Okay? It's that easy. All right? I'm here to help people, and we've been doing it this weekend, but you don't need me. Okay? You repent. You repent. Father, forgive me for this sin, okay? Don't forget Ephesians says, don't let the sun go down in your anger and give the devil a foothold, okay? In your sin, and it says before that, be angry but don't sin. Anger is not a sin, okay? But in our anger, in our emotions, we can commit a sin, okay? When we can do the same thing if we're too happy, or we're too sad. We can commit a sin. Don't let your emotions, cause you to sin or make a bad decision. And that word foothold is topon, giving the devil a legal right. So when we sin, we're basically saying you're allowed to be here. You're allowed to be here to the devil. Okay, the devil cannot make us sin, but he can just, remember this? Tired of me doing this? Let me in. Let me in. Like, okay, if you quit knocking, I will let you in. You're driving me crazy right now. Right? That's where we submit to God and resist the devil. You cannot get enough of God's word. You cannot get enough. One of the verses that helped me, okay, was, and I'm embarrassed because I can't tell you where it's at right now, but it's in Ephesians thing. Do not have a hint of sexual immorality, okay? Because I like to walk the line. I'm like, oh, we don't PG-13, that's all right, okay, or whatever. Okay, that's only going to be like, that's only going to show you something like, I need to see a little bit more. That wasn't enough, right? We're tempting ourselves, okay? How much sexual immorality? Not even a hint. Not even a hint. Okay? Not even a little bit. No, not even a hint. Okay? Paul gave us that advice, and it's amazing advice, and that's where we should walk. Don't even have a hint of sexual immorality. I'm done. So, thank you guys. Is that enough time? I don't even know.
Questions?
Yeah. We got more time, please? Yeah. I'm sorry? Nefarious. Nefarious in the subtitle is Merchant of Souls. What's that? Nefarious spell it?
N-E-F-A-R.
N-E-C-E-R.
N-E-F-A-R-I-O-U-S.
Starts with an N.